All right, and welcome to Wheel Life Problems, brought to you by Wheelchair Gamer. I'm Ricky. That's Wheels.
What's up?
That's Glitched. And today we have our guest, Jordan. Welcome, Jordan.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hey, what's going on?
Terrible. How about yourself?
Terrible.
I'm all right. I'm pretty good.
Let me use this moment of platform to just break down my entire depressive disorder and all my problems and all my no. How
Oh,
are you guys
great.
doing,
It's going to
actually?
be that type of episode now.
hmm
No, doing pretty good.
Well, welcome. Like I said, welcome, Jordan. So tell us about yourself. Give us a little intro of who you are and why should we care who you are?
Well, you know, you should definitely care who I am, obviously. But so I'm I'm Jordan. You know, I'm 19, so a little younger than some people, but older than some people too. But yeah. So I actually know Bill through a group because I have Duchenne Muscular dystrophy. It doesn't really define who I am, but it's a pretty defining characteristic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of figuring out my life right now in terms of school and stuff. Because I went to college and then I didn't really like it because of COVID and whatever.
Understandable.
Yeah, no, it was not good. But so now I'm home. I started a podcast, kind of like this one. Well, a little bit different, but same kind of idea. But yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Um,
Well, I gotta say it's good to meet someone who actually calls Bill by Bill and not Wheels, because it
yeah,
gets very confusing when everyone else like, oh, Wheels. I'm like, who the fuck is that? I was like, oh, Bill.
yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
Bill, that
Yeah.
guy you went to high school with.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that
So,
guy.
so you mentioned that you do a podcast, and what is the name of your podcast?
Yeah, it's called The Life and Lessons of Me. So I was kind of trying to give a new perspective on life in general, especially even though I'm so young, I've experienced things in life, so I figured, why not try and give people a new outlook with my life experiences and see where it goes.
So, by the way, the
Th-
answer to your question is there's more than one way to skin a cat.
that actually gives me a
Yes, that's
random.
you're right.
Because, sorry, not to interrupt you, Glitch, but I listened to your most recent episode, and you asked at the very end of it, it's like
Oh, you
there's
did.
more than one way to do something, such and such. Someone tell me what
Yeah.
it is, and the answer to that question is there's more than one way to skin a cat. That's the
Yeah,
that's what you're looking for on there. So,
I appreciate that. I could not think of it. I'm like, I know I've heard this before, but
What I was gonna say is that actually gives me an idea for a podcast title for myself if I ever decide to start my own solo.
Yeah,
A
I've.
blind playthrough of the game of life.
yeah.
That's true. It's true. I do like
That's
I do like the podcast, the thing. I like how it's just like from what I've listened to quite a few of the different ones, and I kind of like how you just kind of uh, just talking, like just like things that you're thinking, and just like kind of being like, hey,
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
like
And then
that.
I played some funny sounds at the end, but I kind of decided on one that I'm gonna stick with instead of the goat and the cow.
So you mentioned that you met Bill through, well, Bill also told me that you guys met each other through a support group, and I
Mm-hmm.
learned that you are from Pennsylvania. Is this an online support group, or did you guys meet in person, then you moved to Pennsylvania, or
It's
tell me more about
online.
Um,
tell me more about your guys' relationship and how you met and all in that.
Well, it was
yeah.
Kennedy
So
Krieger. Kennedy Krieger has a basically they decided to have um, like a virtual well, it wasn't always virtual, right? It was like in person, but then they made it virtual. It's like Mondays, I think, or is it still Mondays? I don't know.
yeah, I haven't been in a while, but
Yeah, I haven't been in a while either. So, um,
By the way, Bill, I was asking Jordan, not you. So
well, I thought you were kind of asking both of us
I
there.
didn't know
So,
you were the guest,
Yeah.
Bill. Whoa, way
well,
to take
fuck
up his
you, Ricky.
spotlight.
First off, fuck you.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's online.
yeah.
I've lived in Pennsylvania most of my life actually. So I was born in Pennsylvania, but then I lived in Wilmington, Delaware, for a little bit, and then I moved. Of course, I don't remember this, but I moved when I was like 2. And then I've lived in this area in my entire life, pretty much.
Oh yeah. So how long ago did you guys meet though?
Um, I think it was about. It was closer to the start of COVID, I think,
Yeah, I think
or
that's
maybe
about
it was
right.
like, yeah,
Okay, so that makes sense why you guys met through an
yeah.
online group then. And so you mentioned that you have Deschutes just like Bill does. Can you describe to me a little bit about your version of Deschutes or how Deschutes is for
Deschutes,
you? Deschutes.
Duchenne,
Am I saying it wrong again?
Duchenne, but we can call it
Duchenne.
Deschute.
Oh
Deschute.
my God, sorry.
It
You can
it
call it
sounds
whatever the heck you want.
it sounds more fancy that way. I have Deschute.
It does. Well, yeah.
Duchenne. Oh,
Well, it works differently in everybody, but
right.
so I was diagnosed when I was 6, and I never really thought anything of it until I was about maybe 10 or 11 when I started to get tired a lot faster, and it was harder to walk longer distances. Why is my computer doing things? Yeah, so eventually it got to the point where I didn't really want to walk anymore because I didn't really feel safe doing it. And that was about 5 years ago when I was 14, maybe a little bit more. So it was more difficult when I began to lose the ability to walk and stuff like that. But now it's kind of like I've accepted the fact that that is what it is. Can't control that. So yeah, I just gotta kind of keep doing what I'm doing, even though I got to deal with this. It's just like one more thing.
So just like Bill, you were able to walk beforehand, and then you said
Yeah,
what at
yeah,
15 is when you decided to move to a chair?
yeah. It got to the point where I could still walk a little bit, but it was just like kind of not safe. So I decided to switch over.
So can you still stand now?
Um, no, just because of the fact that I've been in a wheelchair for so long.
Right.
They have devices that allow you to stand up, but like I can't stand up with
Right.
my own weight. Or yeah.
Right. And I know Bill, it was a lot later for you. You scaved or managed to push off the wheelchair for a good while. I'm just running on a scooter, but I
Yeah, I
mean, for
mean,
you being sorry, was that what you saying, Bill?
I was just saying that I was 6. It was 16 for me. So I mean, you're talking about a year difference
Okay.
here. So there's
I don't
not
know why
much.
I thought it was different.
16 and 15. That seems about like, and I don't know. Maybe Jordan, you can also the people that you know that have Duchenne. That seems kind of about what it seems to be usually.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's
so
younger.
around
If
there,
it's
yeah.
if it's worse, it can be younger. Actually, and that's kind of like there's such differing degrees of it. And Duchenne is like the closest thing you can say that I have. It's the
Yeah.
closest thing that I relate to, and that you can check a lot of the boxes for, because basically the criteria for it is if you don't have dystrophin in your body, then you have Duchenne. Is basically the
Right.
main criteria. Which in case you guys are wondering, that's a main muscle protein that involves the basically it deals with a lot of the repair of muscles, and unlike regular muscles, our muscles fill with fatty deposits when they break down. Basically, it's like muscle wasting. I mean, that might not be A scientist could probably explain that way better, but that's like the
Yeah, I
kind of
actually know a little bit about it too.
yeah. So you might be able to explain that a little bit better, maybe.
Oh, so you basically said it right. It's actually the biggest protein in our body. So ours doesn't work. Whoops.
Yeah.
So like it is like a shock absorber for the cell membrane. So basically, like you said, when when muscle breaks down, it usually rebuilds, right? But ours doesn't do that properly. So like scar tissue and like fat buildup and like stuff that's not supposed to be in your muscles gets in there, and eventually, so
Yeah.
Right.
Muscles waste is basically, you know, what
So
happens.
being 15 at the time of having to make that difficult decision of having to either fall down and constantly or injure yourself to move to a wheelchair, what was that like for you mentally?
um well, I mean that like period between like 6th grade and 8th grade, which is when it was really getting hard for me to do anything. That was a pretty rough time actually, because I mean you basically see yourself being able to do something, and then gradually, but like not so gradually, like at that point it was like pretty quick from those 3 years. It was, oh, I can do this and now I can't do this. So it was kind of like I used to be able to do that, so why can't I do it now? That was kind of like, like it doesn't make sense, like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah, like I said, I imagine it's got to be a big mental struggle just knowing that like I mean, it's like same as with me, I can't walk and it's just weird being able to sit here and think of like I'm thinking of moving my leg, but it's not working. And I imagine it relates to you that same way. It's like I want to move this body part and I'm trying my hardest, but it's still not moving the way I want it to. It's got to be
yeah.
a really tough place to put yourself mentally. But what are some of the things that you did do beforehand that you aren't able to do now that kind of like was really hard obstacle to overcome?
Well, I mean, I was never super into sports or things like that, so it wasn't like I was insanely active, but it was kind of more so normal stuff, like being able to walk from my bed to the bathroom or whatever, like take a shower standing up. Now, it's stuff that like normal people wouldn't think. Oh, must be nice to sit down in the shower. Actually, I'd prefer to stand up. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like
Yeah.
simple stuff like that, like where it was like super annoying. Like, oh, I can't do that anymore. What's next? Like, and then, um, it's just like I could walk in and out of class. Like I parked my scooter outside the classroom. I could walk into class, sit down at a desk, but then that, stopped happening. So, a lot of improvisation, in terms of like things that I have to do. Like for example, sitting at a desk. Like I had to flip the desk around and like pull it up in front of my chair, which actually was a pretty smart idea. Um,
I
but
actually
like
do that. I actually do that same exact thing.
yeah, like a school desk, like a typical school desk,
Yeah,
we
you
flip it
flip it
around.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because then you're looking at the seat in front of you. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like a lot of normal things, like, oh, I could walk this distance, or I could do that, or like, um, lifting my arm above my head, can't really do that anymore. Um, so like little things like that. It's nothing like super major that I can't do anymore. But it's more so like I have to find a new way to do things that I was able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Right. And tough for everyone out there, having that. But have like okay, here's a question. How do I word this? What was uh, at what oh my god, I'm crapping my words. Okay. I'm getting I'm trying to go back to the whole support group. Oh my god, I can't forget the word. So, how long had you been doing support groups, and how long had you been before you had met Bill, or was like Bill one of the first support groups you came across?
Um, I mean, I had never been in like an official support group or anything like that. Um, before I really wasn't in any support groups. I knew a bunch of people like with Duchenne and other things, and like from this MDA camp, so this Muscular Dystrophy Association. So there's kids with Duchenne, with SMA, with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So I that would be the only closest example of a support group that I've been in, but that was a cool little thing, like make friends, kind of like just a typical summer camp experience. But other than the support group that I met Bill at was pretty much the first one.
Yeah.
Really?
MDA camp was great though. That's a fucking awesome thing that they really put together something great there. So that's cool that you got to experience that too. Like
Yep.
I really loved it personally. It was a great way to meet people that have the same thing and stuff, and a lot of other people that have different muscular dystrophies. So
Can you entail us with a positive experience you had from that camp and why it was so meaningful to you?
Um, I guess the most positive thing would have been like the perspective that it gave me. Because you never like to think people tend to think that their situation is the worst possible, and then they don't really see that there's people in worse situations than you, and maybe that isn't like a super positive experience, but like for me it was like, oh, like these kids who have it worse than I do, they're still going to camp, they're still doing normal things. Like I'm like, so it is a positive experience because I saw that even with their circumstances that were worse than mine, they were still doing like normal things for kids to be doing, like going to camp. So I feel like that perspective that it gave me helped a lot in terms of like accepting what my situation was. Because if they could accept their situation for as bad as it was, then I sure as heck could, you know, be okay with my situation. Fine. Like, um, but I think another thing would be just meeting people, in general, with similar like things to talk about. So it was like I said, it was like a support group in itself because there's people with similar things happening in their lives. So I it was good to meet people that way.
Was there anyone in particular that you met, be it a counselor or a person that really stood out to you that kind of helped you see light in a more positive perspective or anything along those
Um,
lines?
I don't know about anyone specific, but like I know a couple counselors that I met who I've seen recently, like I still talk to and stuff like that. Um, and then I've met um a couple other kids like um well he's like 19 also, so this his name is Mo, so I met him at camp.
oh, I think I might
So
know Mo. I think I know of him.
yeah, you might. I'm not sure. But yeah, Mo's a pretty cool guy. He might be willing to do the show. I don't know. Yeah. So Mo is probably the most like similar person to me in terms of like experience with Duchenne and like what he does with his lifestyle. Like, he's doing his normal stuff. Like he would be doing otherwise. So yeah, he was kind of like a good example of the kind of person that I wanted to be with dealing with this disease and stuff like that. So
Gotcha. And what was it like meeting Bill and what gravitated you to wanting to become friends with Bill? Or like what made you guys become friends and how do you see Bill now?
Yeah.
I don't know if I really can say like what really. I guess the fact that you know he is older than me, obviously, but the fact
Yeah.
that like he wasn't that much older than me, and that he was still like doing really well with this disease and like whatever variant or whatever. So it gave me confidence that like I'll be around for a while. Same with Bill. We'll both be
Yeah.
around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like we related. Like there's a
Yeah.
connection there, just because he seemed to have a lot of the same outlooks on life that I do. So I think that's kind of like why, you know, like I don't know, just I think we just sort of gravitated towards each other, and like during a lot of the meetings and stuff, it seems like him and I were like felt like him and I were talking more to each other than like other people were talking. It's kind of weird. I don't know why that was
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
I
It's
agree with
just
that.
some of the people are just very quiet. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm like, these guys are like super. They're like older than Bill even, and I'm like, I guess
Not
everyone's still shy at some point. Like,
not that it's bad. I'm just saying that I think
no.
I think some people are just like I think some people are really uncomfortable like the Zoom like thing and stuff, and I can
Yeah,
understand it.
it's really weird. I don't
It
like it.
yeah, I prefer in person stuff, but I mean, I do the podcast and I still like it. I
Yep.
mean, so
Okay. Do you see Bill as more of like a mentor or more as a friend now?
I shouldn't be a mentor.
Oh,
I
pulling
don't know
Um,
about that.
yeah, I feel like we're definitely more so friends than
Yeah.
like the mentor relationship.
Yeah, yeah, I don't want these types of responsibilities, Ricky. Don't sign me up for that type of stuff.
You gotta ask, I guess.
Well, I don't know. It's just, you're just kind of curious. You're trying to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, can you give us a little bit more insight of who you are on a day-to-day basis outside of your disability? Because obviously you're more than just your disability. You're Jordan. Can
Yeah,
you tell us
exactly.
about who Jordan is
Um,
outside of?
Yeah.
well, I mean, I like to think that I'm a pretty social guy. I like having friends over, actually one time recently my friend actually like had to carry me into a house because it wasn't accessible or whatever. It wasn't at my house. So, I guess I'm adventurous because I kind of had no choice but to be picked up by my friend. And it's interesting to me because I was describing it to somebody. I was like, it's like the ultimate trust fall because you're like, if you drop me, like it's gonna be bad news, so don't drop me. So it's like you have to trust that your friends are gonna, not drop you. And it worked out fine. But like the typical like daily me is like pretty lame, if I'm being honest. Gets up, drinks coffee, and like I said, I'm not in school right now, so I'm actually applying for one class, so we'll see what happens with that. So that's going for me. Um, I have a dog named Jolly. He's over there. Um, he's a good boy. He's actually my service dog, but he hasn't been doing much since COVID happened. Um, pretty typical. Like I try to be productive in the morning and then do nothing all day. um, but yeah, I mean, it's a little bit difficult to be independent. Just because I do need help to do certain things, but
Yeah.
just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's not doable. So, I'm actually trying to be working towards getting my driver's license. Um, that's a big thing for me because I've wanted to drive since I was 16, and it's not the
Right.
easiest process. They definitely don't make it easy on it. They're like,
Mm-mm.
all right, well, here's all this money that you got to pay, and like have fun with that. Like, oh, so there's that, but we're working on it. And like the podcast is a relatively recent development in my life. I just started it in January, so that's giving me structure and I'm motivated to do that when I really was not motivated to work at school. Like I really, because this is my first year really being able to say, you know what, I don't want to do school. And of course, like if I don't do school, what else am I going to be doing? But um, I don't want to force
Yeah,
myself to go to school if I don't like it.
Right.
don't
So
rush it, man. It took me. So I'll give you a little story about me. In high school, I was the worst student. I was walking then. I broke my neck when I was 18. School, all I wanted to do was ride my bike. And then a month out of high school, I broke my neck. And then I never saw myself doing the traditional school thing too. I thought of like, no, fuck it, stupid. It's not going to make me happy, blah, blah, blah. And then in 2012, when I was 22, I took one class to dabble in at the same time. I was like you, I was like, you know what? This isn't for me. But I recently, uh, sometimes things change in life, and when I was 27, I ended up going back to school and just finished getting my degree, my associate's degree last December, and just things. And what I'm trying to get at is like things happen when they happen and when you want them to happen, and like I decided to
yeah,
go back to school for me when I wanted to and when it felt right for me, and sometimes I feel bad that I didn't start earlier, but if you feel school's not right for you in the moment, don't push it. Just wait for it to happen if you decide to happen, but um just know that that can change, and once you do get in the mentality of wanting to go to school, school actually is pretty fucking great.
Yeah.
I like I said, I wish I started earlier, and I'm so glad I did it. And I'm even going back to school in my late 30s. I mean, not my late 30s. In my early 30s, I'm going back to school again in the fall too. So things can
yeah,
change.
Yeah. No, it took me
hmm
7 years to get an associate's
So,
degree. So.
so for me, just another little story for you. For me, I graduated high school. High school was boring to me. It felt like prison because I already knew most of what they were trying to teach me. I had the basic concepts down. I was one of those high school geniuses that needed
Yeah.
to be placed higher than they placed me.
Oh
Went to
damn.
college, was bored with that, flunked out, dropped out two different times at the age of like 25, 26, somewhere around that range. I ended up making a deal with my mom because she was thinking about going back to school. And I was like, you know what? If you go back, I'll go back. So we both went back. Ended up getting a degree from a dead school that's a useless, expensive piece of paper. And I wish I would have kept to my guns from 18 and never gone back.
Hey man, at the end of the day, at
So
least you got experience, an experience out of it,
it's
whether it be positive
it's
or
a
negative.
different it's a different experience for everyone, and it entirely depends on what degree or what field you want a job in.
That's true.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
very
and
true.
Some
and
fields
actually, I
some
switched what
fields
I
you
was
can
gonna
get
do.
farther with self-teaching and certifications than you can with a degree.
hmm
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's yeah.
and saves you money too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was actually trying to work towards like an associate's degree in something, but something useful like related to my podcast or something like that. As opposed to just going to go because so like the class that I might be taking this coming like half a semester is a public speaking class, so I can help myself, stop rambling and
Well,
saying things that don't make
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, I
Ricky,
mean,
you do communication, right?
yeah, I've taken a public speaking class. I've done public speaking. I've done stand up comedy, which is involves public speaking. If you want just 2 cents from me, communications is a great degree that's going to give you a good wide field of view of whether because communication used in marketing, broadcasting,
Yeah.
journalism, media, marketing. So if you do decide to go to school, communications, for me at least, gave me let me take a lot of interesting classes, not just communication wise, but I got to take like some really interesting electives that I enjoyed too, and I hope it feel like it really helped with something that maybe you might like, which is kind of leads me into what my next question was going to be is so school aside or any school, what are some of your goals that you hope to start tackling here in these few years that coming into your 20s? And understood, you said driving, which is obviously a great one, but like, you know, career wise or hobby wise, like what goals would you like to start focusing on and seeing yourself start tackling?
Yeah. Um. Well, major one is driving. I think that might be the top goal for at least for right now. That's definitely like once I figure that out, a lot of other things will be way easier. Um, you don't think about it too much. Like, oh, driving is like
Mm.
so essential, but it really is. Like,
Oh yeah.
not everyone can always come to you. Like, you gotta pick people up sometimes. Um, like I just feel like it will unlock a lot more of my personal like independence to be able to do like other things like go forward with my other goals, which the second one is probably like grow my podcast, just not necessarily in following, but like just in general grow it, um make more content, stuff like that. I think right now I have a good balance of like continuously making content once a week. It keeps me on schedule, stuff like that. And I think school is probably one of the goals there somewhere. Again, like you said, I'm not trying to rush it. Um, but I think other short term goals are like, you know, start dating. Like, that's a little bit more complicated just because it's like, well, you got to meet the right person. But so we're working
It's
on
only as
it.
complicated as you make it.
That's true too. But it's complicated in the sense that I rush things and that's a whole
Yeah,
different story.
obviously there's gonna be hurdles and stuff, but it's I've dated, it's hard, and it's just like I said, it's as complicated as you make it, and it's obviously like there's gonna like I said, there's gonna be hurdles and stuff, but as you mentioned in your most recent podcast episode, there's obstacles that you will face that you just have to keep persevering through.
Right.
And if that's a goal that is important enough to you, then it's worth investing time and effort into and tackling that obstacle, no matter how difficult it may be.
Mm-hmm. It's up to you to choose the problems you feel like tackling.
Right.
Pretty
Good
much.
advice. Yep.
Although I would
Because life is
say,
full of problems, and happiness comes from solving problems. So it's up to
Yep.
you to figure out which problems you want to solve.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would say in the pandemic though, I would say that I don't think dating is exactly the easiest thing. I know we have the internet and stuff, but I'm just saying I think that it that extra thing has been, when you come up with, oh, what do you want to do? Well, it's like
Yeah. I don't
depending on
know.
what's open.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I
So
don't know, but you know.
you mentioned a story between your friends earlier and stuff, and I have had a similar story of friends having to pick me up and take me to houses and stuff. But what does that trust mean to you, having that kind of special friendship with your friends? Like what does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, I would like it makes me and my friends like way closer. I think. It's like they have to trust me, and I have to trust them a lot more than they have to trust me. But, uh, but yeah, it's about like a deeper trust than just like don't drop me. It's more like, yeah, if I didn't trust you, I wouldn't let you pick me up. No way. Um, so I think we're a lot closer, and it's if like actually I didn't know someone who was there who actually did end up carrying me like up the steps, which is interesting experience. But so I had a couple friends. So I had my really close friend, um, who carried me in the house and stuff like that, and did help me like throughout the day. But then I like just met this other kid, and I was you know I had to trust that he was be able to pick me up. So it's like it's almost a different kind of like instant trust. Like it's got to be you trust me or you don't.
Right.
And yeah, he was trustworthy, so he didn't drop me, which is good.
You passed the
Yeah.
test.
Yep.
That's how they become friends with you. If you can lift me,
Yeah,
you can
exactly.
be my
Yeah,
friend.
it's not. That's why I'm. Yep.
So I guess I'm out. I guess I'm out then.
The ultimate test of friendship. Can you pick me up?
Well, I
I
mean,
don't know,
to
man.
those who
I've
can
had
pick me
friends
up.
stick their finger up my butt. I think that's a pretty bigger test.
Well, yeah, I was. Well,
Well,
they have to trust me,
I'm
not to,
not
like,
signing up for that,
rip
Ricky.
ass in their
Sorry.
face or something.
That's why we're not friends.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why he comes on every week just to burn the shit out of me.
We're not friends until you stick the finger up my rear.
Oh my God. Well, or if you joke about it. If you joke about that kind of stuff, you're totally friends. 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man.
I've known Bill for a long time now.
Yeah. Yeah, this show has definitely made us definitely I've gotten to know Ricky a lot more though, and it's been kind of cool because like we were friends in high school a bit, but we didn't really get we got to know each other better because of this, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right. So back to your podcast. That seems to be like your big passion right now and stuff. Where do you see that going, and how do you want to evolve that and keep it?
I guess I kind of want to like keep a steady following and make sure that I have like a good base to make content for, because if I don't have anyone listen to it, what's the point? Well, there's also the point of like it's fun.
Yeah.
But I've built a decent following in a very short time, which is pretty impressive. It's just like a lot of like posting on social media constantly. Like you gotta get people engaged enough to like come back every week and watch and listen. And I think I kind of want to focus mainly on just growth for now. It's been less than 2 months actually. So just steady growth into the next year. And you just kind of see where it goes. I mean, I'm just kind of trying to, like I said, make people see the world in a new perspective. Not necessarily my perspective, but like in a different perspective. And it doesn't even have to be like directed at people like with Duchenne or anything like that. But I know I am focusing on like marketing within that community initially, just to kind of like get people to listen to it and like share it around. And it's grown pretty quickly in the last month, and well, I guess February is almost over, so like the last 2 months, it's grown like pretty quickly, and I'm really happy with the direction it's going. And eventually I would like to make money off of it, but that's not the main goal at all. It's just like, oh, if that happens, it happens. And it's maybe not even going to be it's not my plan to have it be my full-time job at this moment. But like YouTubers, people that stream, that is their full-time job at some point. Like they get to a point where they're successful and stable enough to make that their full-time job, and I think at a certain point that is a goal of mine. It's just not like the current goal of the podcast. It's more so get my message out and keep people engaged.
Well, here's a little tip for you about content creation as a source of income. You've got to create a lot of content in a lot of different places to make it a full-time job.
Yeah.
You can't just do one thing. So if that is something you inevitably want to pursue, you'll be continuing your podcast. You'll be recording YouTube videos, even if it's vlog style. You might even dabble into doing a little bit of streaming and gaming, or just chatting streams, or whatever, or maybe some writing. You've got to create a lot of different content in a lot of different places, because if you put all your eggs in one basket, for example, all your eggs in the podcast, the moment people stop listening, you know what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah,
So
that's
you've got to
good to
you
know.
you do need to pick a primary though, and everything
Yeah.
else you do needs to funnel into that primary.
Right.
So like if
Yeah.
you do YouTube videos, for example, always mention your podcast. If you do Instagram pictures for whatever reason, every now and then mention your podcast on your feed. Post links to it.
Yep.
It all
So
needs to funnel to one location.
sorry. For the uninitiated who are viewing or will view this episode later, describe your podcast to us in general. How would you sell me as someone? I mean, I listened to an episode or two, but how would you sell me on a podcast right now? Like, say, how would you make me listen to you?
Like any particular episode or just like in general. Because so in general, I feel like people tend to see the world in a certain way, right? And if you have dealt with adversity in the sense that you have a disability or like you've lost somebody that you care about a lot, those aren't really the same thing. But the whole point is like, I'm trying to give everyone a new perspective and a different perspective, and maybe enhance the perspective that they have. Because a lot of people just like go through life, not facing any sort of anything, other than the typical, oh, I broke my leg. It's not really the same thing. So what I'm trying to do is use my life experiences as a 19-year-old, which again seems like surprising, but it's given me an opportunity to help other people see the world in a different way. So I'm using having a disability to my advantage, because I'm taking in all of life a different way because of my circumstances, but it's helping me grow as a person. So if you're trying to grow yourself as a person, I would recommend that you listen to my podcast, because it is decent advice. You don't have to follow it, but it's decent advice if you want to listen to it. Um, and I think it's important to have perspective, especially now, like nowadays, like everyone's trying to fight each other. It's good to just have a different perspective on life and be able to see things in a different way when you weren't necessarily able to do that before. So it aims to just help people try and see the world a different way.
Can you give us an example of one of these perspectives or some advice that, um, for someone that's listening out there, that you've gone over or that you would recommend?
So my most popular episode actually is stop caring what people think. So an example would be that episode. So in that episode I talk about how people tend to judge people, um like they absolutely do that. And that's just a people thing. People do that. um but in that episode specifically, I was talking about how we all just need to acknowledge the fact that people aren't going to like you. There are some people that will not like you, and there's some things that people that do like you will say that will make you think that they don't like you. But the whole point is, like, be okay with being who you are, right? So I'm a firm believer that you were made a certain way for a certain reason, right? So if you're trying to alter yourself based on what other people think, it's kind of going to make you think a different way, which is actually resisting what you're supposed to be doing. Like, you're made a certain way, you're supposed to be doing the thing that you're doing. And if people say like, "Oh, I don't like that about you." Like, you should be like, "I don't care. I like that about me. You don't have to like it." So like in that episode, I'm trying to tell you that not everybody needs to like you, and you don't need to be liked by everyone, but you do need to be liked by you.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's a
Have you
big
ever
one.
come across any instances like this where someone has been like, "Dude, I don't like you"?
I, I don't know if anyone's outright said I don't like you, but it's kind of like um I would say things like, "Oh, if I do this, what is this person going to think?" Or if I did that, what is that person going to think? Where I should have been doing, well, I'm going to do that, and if they think this, oh well. It was kind of like not necessarily like somebody was like, "I don't like you," but I've had people not like me before. Um, and I'll go into like rejection, like specifically in terms of dating. Like, not everyone's gonna like you. Not everyone's gonna like that about you or like this about you. So like, you just have to be able to like yourself. It's like it's a big thing nowadays. Is like people get inside their own heads and they're like, this person thinks this or this person thinks that, and they're not able to truly like become the person that they are meant to be. Um,
Right.
so it's interesting.
Yeah, I think that also makes me think of the compare game that's done a lot in the streaming community where it's like people will constantly compare themselves. Oh, this person is doing this. That oh, how the fuck are they doing that? And like sometimes I find
Yeah,
myself even getting in my own head doing the
I
same
know.
damn
Yeah, me
thing
too. I do the
where
same thing.
I'm like, "Oh shit. Like they're doing the same exact shit as me, but they're doing it better. What the fuck?" But it's like I'm not them. It's just like for instance, you could set up your whole stream like Dr. Disrespect, but you're not him. It's not going to be the same thing. Or you could set up a show that's like Conan O'Brien. You're not him. It's not going to work. He's the ingredient that
And
makes that work.
yeah, and a lot of it is like I also mentioned in my episode, um, like comparing yourself to other people, like it doesn't need to happen because you're like
Right.
you should be okay with doing what you're doing, because you should at least try and think like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing this. Um, not to say that like you know you're predetermined to do whatever, but you are definitely made in a certain way to do a certain thing. You might not know it yet, but
I think we got a good thing from here from Absolute Ozzy. He was saying, I feel like you got to build that connection with your audience that makes your stream and content unique to yourself. Everyone should love your content for you and everything that comes with that. Yeah,
yeah,
100%. That's spot
I
on.
totally agree. 100% agree.
Yeah, that's right to the point. Yeah. So that's yeah.
Absolutely. No, those are great words from Absolute Ozzy and from you as well, Jordan, too. Yeah, it's a lot of people spend a lot of time looking at themselves from the inside out as opposed to looking at themselves from the outside in, which is what a lot of other people do.
yep,
And got to work on that.
Yeah, I think
yeah. And like I
for
said,
sure.
it's not like that easy to just say stop caring, because
Yeah.
like I said, like I do still like compare myself to other people sometimes, and I'm like, oh,
Well,
There's a
oh,
great book out there called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark.
I still need
I
to
forgot.
read that. I still need to read that too.
But if you want to reinforce that line of thinking and why it's important to break down why that line of thinking is so important, I would definitely give that book worth a read. It's worth a read. The Subtle
Def-
Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
it definitely is a great name for a book, right?
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
And there's
Beautiful
another
book
one
name.
by I've forgotten the author of this one, but How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's another great book of self-help about just being able to connect with people on a personal level and not just, um, going about relationships with an ulterior motive, or
Yeah.
I'm not giving the best synopsis, but it's another great book that
Yeah.
reinforces that same line of thinking.
And I guess that's Aqua. I guess your name's Adam, so I don't know if you pronounce it Aquadam or yeah. I know a few disabled who stream and don't want to be on camera because they don't want to be judged. For me, it's about content, and that's why I feel comfortable. I mean, I don't really give a fuck. I mean, I roll,
Yeah.
you walk, motherfucker.
Yeah, I don't
Whatever.
care.
Go ahead,
fine.
hit me with all your worst jokes. I won't see them coming.
As long as you don't walk slow in front of me, we're cool.
Yeah, you might
It's
have to
important
bump them a
to-
little bit.
Yeah, it's the point where that care is at.
Right.
You have to decide what's important to care about and what's not important to care about. And other people's
Exactly.
judgment isn't important. I mean, for some people
Yeah.
it is. I care about what my friends and family think, but
Well, I
Right.
care about what my
small.
hair. Well, yeah. Yeah, I care about what my hair looks like, but that's just for me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, I think it's important. I think it's important to care about certain things. Like, obviously, I'm not saying I don't think it means that you shouldn't give a fuck about anything. Like, you should care about certain things, like the things that are
You should
important
look
to you,
presentable, like yeah.
the things that make you happy. And I think being, kind of doing things that I think what makes me happy is the idea of making my family proud of things that I do. I think that to me is a motivator. That's something that I care about, and I don't want to
Mhm.
do something that would somehow jeopardize their idea of the type of person that I am. That would bother
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah, I think it's important to prove yourself.
Right. So, I mean, I've asked this question on basically any guesses. So, I mean, we've had someone before with Duchenne, but what is something that you would want the general public or the community to know more about Duchenne? What would you like to educate people on about your disability?
Well, I mean, it's important to know that it is different for everybody, and everyone's gonna have a
yeah,
different experience with it. But I feel like to a point, I think that the Duchenne community needs to truly connect. You have like the cancer stuff, thon happens everywhere. My high school had a mini thon to raise money for childhood cancer. And I'm not saying childhood cancer is good; like it's bad. We need to fix it. But I also would like to add that we as a community, um, Duchenne specifically, have the ability to make a bigger impact than we already are. And I think it's important to realize that even with this disease, you can absolutely be doing something. Um,
mm-hmm.
a lot of people get discouraged just because of the nature of this disease. It's really frustrating. It's almost like you take a step forward and then you take 3 steps back. But you gotta be able to look past your disability and find your ability. Um, it's pretty important to be able to do that. And I think the first step is accepting your circumstances and then being able to say, okay, this is what I have to deal with. Now, what can I do while dealing with it? So those couple things are the things that I would like the general public to know. And it is a progressive disease, so you're gonna have times where you're doing one thing and you can do it fine, and then it gets harder and harder. So I would just also like to say, don't take little things for granted, like standing up in the shower, or taking your socks off and walking around on carpet.
Being able to wipe your own ass.
I was going to
That
say
too.
that.
Like I actually, speaking of, I have a bidet, so I don't need toilet paper. watch get water
He's
sprayed up my butt.
fancy. He's like the Europeans.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like on my
I
ass.
actually
I'm
have
not
one.
weird, but like
I have one too. It's one of the greatest things. Next week we're going to that's going to be our next sponsor, guys. We're going to get a bidet to be our sponsor for this.
Everyone
podcast.
should have one. You know, it would save trees. Okay. Don't gotta be making
Let's
toilet
stop
paper.
being barbarians and using our hands to wipe our asses.
Yeah,
Like,
why was no one
honestly, like,
days, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't know. But yeah, don't take little things for granted, like getting your driver's license when you're 16, wiping your own ass, taking a shower standing up, that kind of stuff.
I can agree with the getting your driver's license part because I'll never be able to drive.
Right.
Can't see well enough. So.
Well, that's a relative goal.
But you're still a sight for sore eyes, right? I guess maybe to some. I mean, he's got a pretty wicked beard. I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, before we start wrapping everything up, any final thoughts or anything we didn't touch on that you want to touch on really quick, or anything you want to leave us with?
Not really. I feel like we covered most of the things. But yeah.
Well, anybody from the audience,
Inspiring words by Jordan, guys. No,
is it
not really.
anybody from the audience? Do you have
Good.
any questions for Jordan, or any questions about anything? You know, just figured I'd throw that out there because I do know that there were some people chatting, and I do really appreciate everybody that could come in. Absolute Ozzy, thank you for checking out the channel. Aquadam, it was great to see you. I'm glad that we were able to connect. I still need to check out your stream, dude. I still haven't checked it out. I watched a VOD of it actually, but yeah. No, I appreciate everybody coming out. I mean, it was it's always good to hear from everybody. So anyways, I figured I'd throw that out there.
Give a minute for see if anyone wants to throw a question out.
Right, you never know.
Let's see if we got any good questions.
I should have like the Jeopardy music. Ding 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 ding.
Yeah, no, I pretty much covered everything, I think, so.
Yeah. No, I mean it was
Well-
I'm glad you were able to come out on the show, dude. Like I really am glad that we were
Yeah,
able
no
to
problem. I
have you.
appreciate it.
All
Awesome
good, man.
conversation.
Glad to check you guys out. Hey, thanks.
Good to have you on, and for my 2 cents of you as we wrap everything up is, you know, try giving that school a second thought, because there's a lot you learn more than just school itself, you know. And even though it took me a while to get back into it, and it sounds like look into a communications degree too. That can be maybe give you a stepping stone into a direction of an area of study. I'm not saying you have to study communications, but it can give you an
Yeah,
idea of like,
get that, though.
there's more out there than just, you know, the
Yeah.
regular becoming a doctor or a lawyer type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even thought about broadcasting, because just because I can't walk or move my arms as well as I would like to, my mouth still works.
Yep, there you
Yeah.
go. And I can definitely give you a talking full of that, you know. So, alrighty then. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining in, and thanks again to Jordan for being our guest of the hour. So, take it easy and keep it wheel.
All right, guys.
Indeed. Have a good one, world.
See ya.